the weekly show with David J. Maloney.
This week, David chats with legendary musician and producer Leslie Mandoki.
And now, here's your host, David J. Maloney.
Welcome, everyone, to the weekly show. I'm your host, David J. Maloney. On tonight's show, we've got a really special guest. He's got one of those incredible stories, which most of the time is saved for fictional characters, except he's actually lived it all. He escaped communist rule to find asylum in Germany, went on to have one of the most incredible music careers you can imagine as a musician and music producer, and he's now the band leader and founder of the incredible supergroup, the Mandoki Soulmates. Back with us again after the break to talk more about his life, music, and his band's brand new album, A Memory of Our Future, is none other than Leslie Mandoki. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. You know, I wanted to ask you, how did the idea for the Soulmates come about? When did that idea first come into your life? And then how did all that come together? Because I mean, that's a lot of big names to and a lot of pieces of the puzzle that have to fit together. How did all that start?
Actually, the idea came from two directions. So they're rooted in two different area. The one is that I was a huge Ian Anderson fan. I mean, and his musicality, his intellectuality, he's a mastermind. So, and I really loved Czech blues. So there was in strong Britain, you know. Same goes for Ali Moore. And I had the idea, but I had this idea as I was 19 that I loved British prog rock, you know, King Crimson, you know, this complex compositions, the lyrical content, the way the productions went, wonderful, early Genesis stuff, incredible stuff, and Chatterton anyway, and I loved the production skills. But I was missing this incredible American virtuosity, you know, this Mike Stern or Ellie Moore, Brecker Brothers thing. But then again, this American side was not for me. Whenever it came to the vocals, which was not very often, but then it's silly lyrics, you know, no poetry, you know, no social things, you know. It was always a bit too light. But incredible virtuosity. So I said, okay, someone must come up with merging these two. So merging the values of prog rock, and was mainly British, part of phenomenal Frank Zappa, and the mainly American virtuosity, part of Brad Dix. You know, so and if someone come down, and I said, okay. I was wondering that no one else came up with that idea, you know, and this was Ian Anderson and Ellie Moore. This must be merged, you know. And this was gonna come off something very special out of this. And you must find great musicians who are following this vision, like Ian Anderson was following it, and Ellie Moore. Ellie Moore said, I was over, and as I was a kid, I was 15, I went to every Jethro Tull concert in New York because he was a gentleman. And Ian said, yeah, well, I love Ellie Moore. So this was obvious. And now, okay, you're saying the names, but this is a band of band leaders. And that's why we never had any ego problems.
Which is crazy because you would think it would be the exact opposite. You would think that with that many names, but when you reach a certain level,
no
why?
ego. Right.
Yeah.
We serve music. We have a mutual vision.
Yeah. Your boss is the product, right?
Absolutely.
The boss is the product.
Absolutely. And we have mutual values and you know, the kids, the families, you know, everything. So this is just, you know, it's great hangs. It's wonderful.
Well, you know, in the Soulmates, you've created this group of musicians who've included, I mean, many of the artists you and I grew up listening to and admiring. I mean, like you said, Ian Anderson from Jethro Tull, Al Di Meola, um, um, Bobby Kimball, Steve Lukather. You know, you're talking about. I mean, these are who was your first childhood. Who was your first of these childhood influences who said yes to the band? And do you remember that conversation?
That was Ian Anderson.
Oh, wow.
And I went to a Jethro Tull concert, and I went backstage. God, happens to be a guy who allowed to go to backstage because and I said, Mr. Anderson, I'm Leslie Mandoki. I have a vision. I would like to merge prog rock with jazz rock, British prog rock with American jazz rock. It's a big important. And I was explaining, and he just trusted me. And he said,
had you guys known each other before that?
No.
So just boom, you guys clicked.
Yeah, maybe clicked, and then he said, it was cassette time, and so if you have any music that to give me an imagination what you're talking about, but it makes a lot of sense. I said to him, I'm wondering that I'm a Hungarian refugee, that I'm coming up with this idea because it's so obvious that someone has to do that. This to fuse that, to melt this. And then I was sending him a cassette, and he was calling me, and I said, I like it, and I'm more than happy to be part of it. So he was the first. And then Bobby Kimball came in. And because he's and in a way the Pavarotti of rock music, and it was wonderful. And David Clayton Thomas, I called and I knew him. Said, Dave, would you come over? And he came over, and we recorded only one song with Jack Bruce, Bobby Kimball, David Clayton Thomas, Ian Anderson. Whoops! I mean, made it big, number one in the charts, and with all these legends, and then it was called The Mother Europe. It was not even. We re-recorded it later on again, and it was wonderful, and it was also a political moment because it was about the wall came down, and we thought that the world is going to be a peaceful place, and freedom is going to be self-explaining, and unfortunately it was not. But and then we just had incredible lot of fun, together. It's a joyful thing, hanging out and doing it. So it's really good.
Well, and that comes through too. You know what I mean? There are times there are albums like Get Back where, you've got a band that's on its way out, they're fighting through it, but then you can also tell when everything gels. You know what I mean? Just like you said, that's what made that's obviously what made that last track possible, right?
Absolutely. David, it's just because you feel each other, we all have in our life, some strict intellectual, rational, lines, we have to get up and do it, you pay your taxes, whatever, but then you have your emotional life. And this band is kind of, because everybody's a band leader, we don't have anything on our shoulder, because Ian Anderson said once in an interview on a BBC, said, well, playing with Leslie, this is the first and only time when I ever sung anybody else's lyrics and songs, but wonderful. We're playing somewhere, and I'm touching down. I'm coming to the airport, and sitting in a car, and I'm not watching are the posters on a wall or not, because it's Leslie's band. I'm just playing flute, and wonderful.
But I'll tell you what, that we were talking about it before we started doing the interview for the show, and that song, Blood in the Water, I mean, it really brought out just how vast the influences are. But also the first thing that hit me hard was Ian and his incredible flute work, and how it's just so great throughout the whole thing. Yeah. I mean, it's almost like you're watching a movie and you don't expect one of your favorite stars to show up, and then all of a sudden the star shows up and does a cameo, and then they stay, and then another one of your favorite stars shows up and does a different cameo, and it's just like, little treat after little treat.
Yeah, it feels like for me as a writer too. So, and a producer, because it just unfolds and it's just beautiful.
Well,
And
and there's so many influences in your music with the Soulmates. I mean, yeah, we talk about progressive stuff, and yeah, there's rock, there's jazz, there's a little fusion, maybe I don't dare I say a little pop, a little folk, and so many combinations in between. I mean, it's just I'm so glad that these ideas that you had really kind of took shape in the way that they did.
you know, let me share with you, David, what made it easier this time as any other time, because we are also kind of slaves of the technology, and if I was programming everything, just making demos, this guy gonna play, and it's the vision, and this goes there and this goes there, that it was much less different influences are coming across, because it was more strictly pre-programmed in a way.
Was it
But now,
because you went analog? Is that why? Or
yeah, because I went pencil, and totally analog,
Mhm.
so. And all of a sudden, I could say, Richard, would you play here the fretless, please? And why don't you just sing along with this line? And all of a sudden, something, unfolds in a beautiful way. And I play a little percussion to that, and all of a sudden there's another picture. The clarinet comes in there, and tasteful Hammond pad is coming in, and and you know, it was a reinvention of playing in a way that we're looking at each other. So that like the last tune. I mean, you cannot jam without seeing you.
well,
This is
and plus you only got one take.
yeah. This is absolutely the point, and especially because you know everybody said, how much does a tape cost these times? Because I mean, back then,
Yeah.
as we're recording analog, it was expensive enough to but now it's a fortune. So everybody said, Leslie, I mean, we played this once, okay, and you believe or not, everything is once. I mean, we don't have outtakes. We just don't have any outtakes. It's just played like that. So
I've got a selfish question that it kind of backs us up a little bit before this, quite a bit before this. Having fled to safety in that very country, what did it feel like for you to be representing Germany at Eurovision '79? I mean, I'm making an assumption, but that just seems kind of remarkable to me, and I wanted to ask you about that.
it was crazy, especially to do that in Israel. You are a Hungarian refugee. At the front of your hotel is the Hungarian bookshop in Tel Aviv. And then you move over to Jerusalem, and it is at the front of your hotel is the goulash corner, the Hungarian restaurant. You go down in the street and Tel Aviv, and all of a sudden you hear Hungarians. And the lady who was was the responsible for artist care for the TV thing during the rehearsals and the camera rehearsals. She said, yeah, well, I told to my grandfather that I have a Hungarian refugee here as Germany's represented. Then he said, how come? How this could happen? And then the lady is telling me, a young lady, she was a girl, and she's telling us a student then, and she's told me that it was very, very, very moving story that her grandfather was a Hungarian Jewish refugee, and he was sitting in a Knesset in the Israeli parliament. And because at the very beginning, after the Shoah, after the Second World War, no one was speaking Hebrew. So everybody had his so-called Yiddish or different languages where the original country, but no one, but from the elderly people, they were not speaking Hebrew. And they, of course, they were heavy discussions about the future, how to build a country from the scratch. And he said, you know how it was in the Knesset? If we really got angry with each other to discussing the best way, to explore the best way, then we were yelling to each other Hungarian. That was so funny. So being the German representative, in Israel, and immediately I was the Hungarian guy. So for the first to the last momentum, so everybody came up in a very lovely way, in a very kind way, and very gentle way. So it was funny because as we came home to Germany, and if I was just trying to tell that I don't have a Hungarian passport, and I was not for years in Hungary. And if I would go, then that would be immediately in jail. And so it was an interesting, it was. My kids were asking me another day the same question. I said, how was that? Because I was not telling to my kids that I was a pop star, so they were not knowing this for a while. I was not hiding it, but but it was an interesting thing. I was just, but then later on, as we were in Brazil and Japan and then all these places, was funny, but I didn't really like it. So that was not me. So I'm a prog rock guy.
Being a prog rock guy and just kind of to bring everything full circle, given all that you've been through in your life, and then looking out at the world as it is today, is there any message you'd like to be able to convey to people at this moment in our history?
Yes. Try to listen to our music with the understanding, with the feeling that we have created this album as a compass out of the labyrinth of crisis. To taking the responsibility as a musician, because your love of music propelled our creativity. You were sending us to a sunny side of life with your love of music, and now it's time to give back. It's payback time. We are here for you in this trying, crazy times we are going through, because we are in this great division, the great divide. And so we take it very seriously that music is the greatest unifier. And let's learn again that if someone is representing something total different view about anything, it's not your enemy. It's just the guy who thinks differently than you do. And so let's go back to that understanding of the 70s. And one more thing, there is psychopedia. So get off social media for a moment, take a breath, and have a listen to 80 minutes music. In a way, it's created because it was created for you, and in a way that we assembled the music not from tracks to track, but as a holistic aspect. Like you don't take from a book a page, and you don't take from a painting just a square inch. Take it as it is, and give you a chance to listen to an album which is fresh, which is new, and is dealing with tomorrow, a memory of our future, but it's a handwritten love letter and not a text message.
Well, that's all very, very good advice. And then I'm going to do the exact opposite for 1 second. And I'm going to ask you what's next for the Mandoki Soulmates, and do the exact opposite and actually ask our audience where they can follow you on those social media platforms so they can listen to your album and so they can find you and see what you're doing.
All right, so it's very simple. Mandoki, because I'm a Hungarian, so it's very some Mandoki, and then soulmates, and soulmates obvious. And when you then nail into Mandoki Soulmates, you find us everywhere, all in your digital services. So you go to Spotify or Apple, whatever you use, Amazon. And of course, if you really want to have some fun, then you go on Amazon and you order a vinyl or a CD, because you get a big book, and even if you're listening on digital devices. But if you had this big book, and you have this feeling of opening up, and CD or the vinyl, and I really made a lot of efforts to produce for you a great book, to the vinyl and to the CD. So it makes a lot of sense to get it physical. But of course, I really mixed the whole album. It was a very simple mix, because no post-production. Everybody was saying, how was it? I said, no post-production at all. I mean, just opening the faders.
It's raw. It's tactile. That's the thing. You want something and that's the great thing about vinyl. You do something recorded on, I mean, if you can record it analog, you got to listen to it on vinyl.
Yeah. So that's why, if you have a device at home, so please just buy yourself a vinyl, because this is great. I mean, this takes you back to a audio vision, the sonic I mean, this is just fantastic. It's just I mean, we had it's called the High End, this audio fair, worldwide biggest in Munich. And they were taking it as the reference vinyl for this year, so you could hear it everywhere.
Well, Leslie, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing so much with us. I mean, it's just the stories, and in addition to the music, just incredible. Thank
you so much, David, for having me, and thank you for giving us the chance and the opportunity. It's a great privilege, a great honor. And the next step of Soulmates is for sure with America, because we are around 31 years, and it's our first release in America. So something went wrong in this recording industry. So we gotta come over, and we play so many concerts in Europe. So it's time to play in America.
That would be fantastic, and I think there's so many people, especially a lot of prog rock fans.
Absolutely.
Who would seek that out. Just thank you so much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. Leslie Mandoki.
Thank you.
That's our show for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. A special thanks to Leslie Mandoki for joining us once again. Stay safe, everyone.